What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Canadian Football Fanatics YouTube channel. And thank you guys for tuning in to another Canada West football show. As you can see, I am solo tonight. I know Matt usually joins us a little bit later on the intros for the Canada West football shows, but I will be solo for the entire episode here tonight. I know Matt's busy getting prepared for the Canada West. I know he's calling some football this weekend, as well as I think some other, I believe maybe some hockey in there as well. Wishing Matt the best this week in his play-by-play. And hopefully, not hopefully, I know he will be back on the program next week when he has some more time. Business as usual, folks, for the Canada West Football Show once again this week, week number 5 already. Last week being week number 4. Um, Good week. Speaking about Matt Young and myself, good week for the crew that is the CFF weekly picks. I guess maybe the panel put together by CFF. That is me, Connor O'Neill of CF Perspective, Canadian Football Perspective, Gord Randall of KGN, Crown Gridiron Nation, and Matt Young from CTV Saskatoon and Canada West football analyst. I should say sports analyst. He does it all, you name it. 3-0 for myself, for Gordon Randall, and for Matt Young. Connor O'Neill had himself a fine week as well, going 2-1, but the boys have been struggling up until this week, so it was good to have a 3-0 perfect week for myself, speaking for myself, and I'm sure the other fellows as well. To start the show, I should probably get it, uh, you know, the sincerest of apologies to Gord Randall for messing up his record in the Canada West weekly picks. All jokes aside, he was supposed to have one victory already in his win column this season. Going into last week, I made the graphic and it said 0-9. Gord was actually 1-8. He correctly predicted that Saskatchewan would win in week number 3. If you guys want to go back, check out our Instagram, our Twitter. You can find the post there. So Gord Randall getting his first win. I know he was getting heckled pretty good on the comments there last week for the week 4 pick. Forgive me, Gord. I know he does. And I mentioned that I owe him a beer at Grey Cup this year for doing that. Um, like I said, should be a good week for the picks. Hopefully, to build on those. A lot of fun for us to do better because that's what it was tough to start the year, with one win through 3 weeks and that sort of stuff. And it's good to be back on track. That makes me 5-7. That makes Connor O'Neill 5-7. Gord Randall now 4-8. How nice that looks from a 1-9. He is 4-8 now on the season. And Matt Young leading. It's ironic Matt's not able to make it. He can't even brag about his first place standing um, right now at 6-6, 500. And I think that just shows how much chaos, number one, and just how much parity there is in the Canada West, how great of action there is on a weekly basis of tuning in and you're not sure who's going to win on a weekly basis. Not to put the blame on anyone, but I would say those guys are probably more so the experts than myself, having more experience with the U Sports scene, more specifically the Canada West scene. Me just getting into it. U Sports, I've been into it for a little while now. I remember being a kid and it being on the score, but I remember it always being some OUA football. Never really remember it watching any Canada West games. And then obviously I went to the 2011 Vanier Cup when it was in Vancouver. And other than that, high school friend of mine, teammate, good friend of mine in my high school days. Malik Besker went to the University of Windsor. Oh my goodness. University of Western, excuse me. Played receiver there for 5 years. Was a part of the 2017 Vanier Cup team. So became a little bit familiar with the U Sports scene there, watching some of his games, following his career. But other than that, really don't have too much experience for U Sports. So I know these guys. That's why I kind of look to them to, Gord being a veteran around, the football community in Canada, Connor O'Neill being a young up and comer like myself, and he's well established already at his age. And then Matt Young, who's, like I said, Canada West analyst, has been around the game for a while, the Canada West game specifically. Hoping the boys can now turn it around, get on a positive note, and start to, maybe get above 500. I think would be a goal of ours. So Should be a good one. If you guys haven't seen those, go check it out on our Instagram at Canadian Football Fanatics, as well as our Twitter page at underscore CF Fanatics. As always, if you guys are tuning in and enjoying our video here tonight, like, comment, subscribe, follow us on both those platforms, Instagram and Twitter. If you guys aren't subscribed, please subscribe. And when you guys do, press the notification bell. You guys get notified every time we upload a video like this one. We go live like the weekly show or any sort of post game preview for the BC Lions. And even unpromptly we might go live from this show time to time. I know last week we did. This week we weren't able to make it happen with Matt's schedule, my schedule being a little bit more busy as well. So you never know when we might be uploading, dropping some sort of videos. So make sure you guys are subscribed. When you guys do, press the notification bell. You guys get notified every single time we upload any sort of content. So let's get into it. Seeing as that it's just myself here tonight, won't stick around maybe too long. Hopefully to get out of here, maybe 25, 30 minutes. Usually we go for about 40 to 50 minutes every show. Hoping to get out of here a little bit earlier because it is late when I am recording this. I know by the time I'm uploading this, it'll be Friday morning. By the time you're listening to this, it could be Friday afternoon, or Friday night, Saturday morning, Saturday afternoon. Who knows when it may be? Hopefully you guys are listening to this and enjoying it. I am recording this currently at 9:30 p.m. Pacific time on Thursday night, Thursday the 26th. So yeah, it's been a busy week for myself. I've been working out of town. Weekly show Wednesday, having to do some BC Lions stuff this week as well, doing a little bit of Raider stuff, content. So been a busy week of mine. So we'll kind of having to wait till the last minute to get in our weekly show as always. But you know this, folks, we will recap last week's action quickly and then get into kind of maybe why. I think I'm going to put a little twist onto our preview slash why we're picking through the matchups at later in the show, next segment. So let's get into last week's action where we started in Regina with Alberta dominating the Regina Rams 30-6 over the Regina Rams in Regina, as mentioned. And I think this just proves that Alberta is one of the better teams in Canada West. I don't know if I can quite confidently say that they are the best team, that they are better than Manitoba. I think maybe that you could say that they've played better than Manitoba, but Manitoba is they've gotten the wins at the right time. They've performed at the right time. I know they've gotten outgained in a few games, and they found ways to win. And I think that's a credit to them and their mental toughness, staying with it. So Alberta's, I think, a heck of a team. I just don't know if I can put them over Manitoba quite yet. That being said, I think they showed why they went to the Hardy Cup last year, why they almost represented the Canada West in the national semi, and who knows, maybe even in the Vanier Cup as well. I think that starts with the best run game in the Canada West, led by none other than Matthew Peterson, friend of the show. Hoping to get Matthew on, hopefully one of the weekly shows here. I know he's battling through something, so I don't really want to be too much of a bother when he's maybe trying to get some rehab and stuff like that, because he missed the week number 2 game. The University of Alberta lost to Calgary. He came back last week, went for over 200 yards on the ground. Last week being 2 weeks ago. Sorry. This past week, he was a big part of the win over Regina with 10 carries for 116 yards, 11.6 yards per carry. Unbelievable. And 1 touchdown. One touchdown was actually a 70-yard, just a fantastic run where he showed why he's so dominant. Broke kind of, right side of the offensive line, found some open field and cut up the right sideline, and it was, basically gone from there. And it was a fantastic run by Matthew, and just proves why I think he's one of the the best players, and I think he is the best player in Canada West. Why he's one of the best players in U Sports and in the country, and I think why personally for me, and what I hate is this kind of the classic MJ, LeBron, Kobe debate that you can't love or you can't like all three of them. You can't be a Kobe fan without being a LeBron hater, or vice versa, whatever it may be. I can like Matthew Peterson and still like Isaiah Knight, Riker Frank, excuse me, some other backs that are around the conference that are really good. That being said, I think Matthew Peterson is the best back in Canada West, just because of his overall game, his consistency with it, and how long he's been doing it compared to those two guys. I know Isaiah Knight had himself a good year last year as well, and it might even, I can't remember his 2022. was kind of my early coming into Canada West action. But just Matthew Peterson, I think, is a phenomenal back and proved why he got drafted last season. But as I mentioned, going through something, right? 10 carries, basically once it was, 17 or so nothing there in the second quarter for Alberta, we really didn't see him. And I think why it contributes to, I think why they have the best run game in the Canada West is because the options that they can go to here with Oshinabe. Last year they had number 22, I forget his name off the top of my head, but was a Jonathan Rosary or something with an R, was a fifth-year back, was a great tandem with Matthew Peterson, who was a lead back, but when he needed a blow, he came in. That being Rosary, I want to say Jonathan Rosary or something Rosary, um, and was very productive. And I think they found that in Oshinabe this year: 15 carries, 78 yards, 5.2 yards per carry, and a touchdown after Matthew Peterson came out of the game. And I don't believe he really came out of the game, or if it was heard that he left with injury. But they definitely he was given the ball cap side, the pop your shoulder pad straps, and this one's over. Grab a ball cap on, cut up the spats, unlace the cleats. You're not going back into this one. And that was all for Matthew Peterson's night. It was so productive. 70-yard, fantastic touchdown. 10 carries, 115 yards, 11.6 yards a carry. And that was pretty much all they needed. Like I said, 17 nothing in the first half, second quarter. It was 30 nothing late in the game. This game really wasn't close, folks. Quick shout out to Jonathan Justini, kicker for the University of Alberta Golden Bears, continues to have himself a fine season as the dual threat as the starting safety slash kicker for the squad. 3 for 3 on field goals, 37-yard long, has been fantastic all year as a part-time kicker, part-time player on defense as well. So, as I mentioned, this one was not close. Our Naza, who actually liked the number 85, the Terry Fox alum for the Regina Rams, BC boy, rookie, has been having a pretty good rookie season, in my opinion, and had a nice corner route touchdown in some garbage time, but nonetheless, still a good conference booster for the rookie. Was well thrown by Noah Peltier, who didn't have himself a great day, but was kind of surprising to see that offense was held in check. Garwood, the running back, really didn't do too much on the afternoon. Sirleaf and number 9, Deshaun Mims, really kind of quiet on the afternoon, and was a little bit, I wouldn't say shocking is maybe the right word, but surprising, I suppose. Because Alberta has a good defense, but I don't think they have the defense to completely isolate those guys from the game. So this is Regina's second straight loss. They are now 2-2 on the season after going 2-0 to start the year, getting a hot start, riding high. They've kind of came back down to earth. I still think Regina is a really good team because they are a team. I think that's the best part about Regina this year is they have a great team. There's not necessarily one superstar, a few superstars. They have a great, well-rounded team. I think that's why they're going to be in contention. I think they're going to be in the Canada West playoffs this year. I don't think that's a hot take to say. And it's whether or not they can peak at the right time and get all those weapons going. And I'm interested to see who's leading them at quarterback. So let's get into UBC and Saskatchewan, and let's talk about, as I mentioned, I can like LeBron and I can like Kobe. I can like Matthew Peterson and Isaiah Knight as well, who, he's saying, hey, what about me? NFL scouts coming to watch him. I believe Los Angeles Chargers, a few other guys. 3 Down Nation has reported. I know I've spoken to Theo Benedette, former UBC offensive lineman, now with the Chicago Bears in the NFL. Was very high on Isaiah Knight, obviously former teammate, brother of his. I would imagine they're very close. Um, Said, watch out for this guy. NFL scouts are looking out for him. He had a phenomenal performance. 24 carries, 187 yards, 7 yards a carry, and 2 touchdowns. Also chipped in with 3 receptions, 26 receiving yards, over 200 all-purpose yards, 27 total touches. A great game for Isaiah Knight, and popped it off with that. I think it was like a 60-yard touchdown there. I want to say in the first half, but potentially UBC really ran away with this game. It was a close game up until half. UBC pulled away with 17 points in the the third quarter. I think Saskatchewan struck back with a touchdown in the fourth quarter, but it wasn't enough. just being the 7 points. UBC didn't score in the fourth quarter. Garrett Rooker finally looked like himself, and it was a nice, pleasant surprise to see because through 3 games he had really not looked like himself, and I think this isn't going to come off as a backhanded compliment. I really hope it's not, but I think Garrett Rooker is the best game manager in the conference and maybe in Canada West. Now, where I know that's going to be, it's going to sound like kind of a backhanded compliment. I struggle to have confidence in Garrett Rooker's ability to win for the UBC Thunderbirds alone. Or what I mean by that is if Isaiah Knight isn't going number one, and if they have to lead on them, as a primary for that offense to go. If they have to go through the passing game, I think they struggle, and they're not able to get it done. When they're able to run the football, opens up the play action game, which Garrett Rooker thrives in and is very good. And I think he's one of the better play action quarterbacks in the country. But there's a few other quarterbacks in the conference that I think I'd take over Garrett Rooker. Now, like I said, I'm not. This is sounding like a backhand compliment. I think Garrett Rooker is a phenomenal quarterback, and I'd argue he's one of the better quarterbacks in the entire country. So this is not to me to be disrespectful to Garrett Rooker by any means. To get back to a more positive standpoint, he did have himself a great afternoon, going 22 of 29, 320 yards, no touchdowns, no interceptions, which is good to be able to take care of the football. The UBC Thunderbirds were able to offensively, excel through the run game last week with 5 total rushing touchdowns, 2 more from Dane Kapler, their Swiss Army knife, the guy that plays running back for them, a little bit of slot receiver. Is a little bit involved in special teams, returning kicks, not really, but just a do it all type back for them. He got 2 rushing touchdowns, which is nice to see. And then Derek Engel, their short yardage quarterback and backup quarterback, has been involved in package work. And then their short yardage guy got a sneak touchdown there as well. So 5 total rushing touchdowns with Isaiah Knight getting 2, Kapler getting 2, and Derek Engel getting 2 as well. Garrett Rooker looking like himself, which is good, but no touchdowns. Taking care of the football, though, no interceptions, I think is key. UBC winning with 38-24, I think is a good confidence boost for them to, score almost 40 points offensively, feel good about themselves, and also, only scored 24 points until or hold Saskatchewan, to 24 points in the ball game. I think they scored late, if I'm not mistaken. I kind of tuned out of that one, and a little bit blurry on remembering the end of that game, but UBC was able to pull away with the victory, 38-24. Interested to see how UBC responds this week versus Calgary, a team I think is going to be desperate, and you're in Calgary, a team that's also played better than I think their 1-3 record. Should be an interesting one. So from a Saskatchewan standpoint, Daniel Weave continues to be the best receiver in Canada West, folks, this season. 9 receptions, 150 yards, 2 touchdowns, or 2 touchdowns, an 87-yard long bomb from Anton Amandrud, who had himself a pretty decent afternoon, 27-39, 329 yards, 2 touchdowns, but 2 interceptions. It's kind of crept up with the turnover problems once again, and maybe turning the ball over a little bit too much. Last year, I think he had 18. This year, he has 5 through 4 games, which you'd like to see maybe those numbers be brought down just a little bit. Excuse me here, folks, while I take a sip quickly. I can feel the throat getting a little dry, so excuse me. Um, Anton Amner, like I mentioned, 2 touchdowns, but 2 interceptions. Got to find a way to, I think, limit those turnovers, and it would give his team a little bit better opportunity to win. As I was mentioning, Daniel Weave, phenomenal season so far. I believe he's only a few yards ahead of um, Sam Davenport out of UBC in terms of receiving yards, but still is first in receiving yards, is by far first in receiving touchdowns with 5. I think the next closest is number 2, and there's a bunch of 2s and 1s in there. The touchdowns being spread out receiving wise. And then there's been just a predominant majority amount of rushing touchdowns in the Canada West, more so than receiving touchdowns, which is interesting. But Daniel, we phenomenal season. I think where this was kind of got away from Saskatchewan is arguably their second best player wasn't able to get going. Riker Frank, 10 carries, 23 yards, 2.3 yards per carry, 11 yards long. So realistically, he had, 12 yards on 11 carries. Not great. Caden Miller, backup running back, was able to have 7 carries, 64 yards, 9.1 yards per carry, be a little bit more productive. Wasn't sure if Riker Frank was battling through something, left the game with an injury that he sustained in the game. Wasn't sure, but I think when he's going, that Saskatchewan offense is going to be dangerous, and that makes even Daniel Weeb a bigger threat when they're having to, creep up, load the box a little bit more, stuff like that. And I think that's Saskatchewan's three-headed monster, right? Their quarterback, Anton Amherst, when he's taking care of the football, Daniel Weeb, and Riker Frank. So interested to see how they move forward from this one and if Riker can get back on track. Sask, unfortunately, taking another loss, dropping to 1-3 on the season. So let's get to the last matchup of last week's matchups, and that was he in, folks, or was he out? Manitoba escapes with the 22-17 victory over the Calgary Dinos. And boy, oh boy, did it sure look like he was in bounds when he caught that football at the end of the game, folks. Unfortunately, no replay system in the U Sports division. So, unfortunately, the refs go with what was called on the field, no catch. They ruled that he did not get a foot down, did not have possession of the football. It sure looked like with some of the replays there on the Canada West TV that he got a foot down and was inbounds with possession of the football. Unfortunately for Calgary, they get shafted and they come out on the wrong side of that one. Manitoba continues to do what they do, and that just is find ways to win the last 2 weeks, beating Alberta teams. They beat Alberta by 1 point on the 2-point conversion last week. Nick Conway was able to get a PBU. If Alberta catches that and they win the game, Manitoba could arguably be 2-2 right now. But I think that are like that's a good argument for them of being 2-2, or excuse me, being 4-0 instead of 2-0, 2-2, excuse me. And what a testament of resilience, mental toughness, stuff like that. So let's get into the game a little bit. And it was a quiet one for Jackson Shinsky, and his Heck Crichton uh, bid, if that's maybe what you want to call it, or I don't know if you want to, if nobody was kind of calling that, but early on he was playing phenomenal, and I think was the conversation was rightfully so. Now, unfortunately, hasn't had the most gaudy year in terms of stats wise. I know that's not everything, but does have a good part to do with it, especially with some of the quarterbacks around the country putting up what they are, even in his own conference. He had a quiet afternoon, 9 of 20, 132 yards, no touchdowns, no interceptions, but he also had 9 carries, 71 yards, 7.9 yards per carry, and 2 touchdowns on the ground. And the Manitoba Bison's run game is what led them to victory here on the afternoon. Braden Stubbs was able to have 16 carries for 84 yards, 5.3 yards per carry, and a touchdown. Shaq Harris, I believe, is what he's nicknamed, had eight carries, 69 yards, and 8.6 yards per carry. Was able to do just enough, get them 3 touchdowns, I believe. It was 2 from Chichinski, 1 from Braden Stubbs, and then a conversion in there. Might have been a single that got them the 22 points, which was just enough to get the victory over the Calgary Dinos, who have looked better in the last few weeks, but just haven't been able to, do enough. Still at 1-3 on the season. A guy that I like actually is Matthew Clark running the football. I think he's one of the maybe an intriguing kind of prospect to watch, to keep an eye on if he can do some damage here in the next few years. I'm not too sure his eligibility, what age he's currently, but 13 carries, 86 yards, 6.6 yards per carry. He also had a 40-yard receiving touchdown on a little screen pass from Dom Britton. Was able to break free to the left side of the offense and show off his speed. He chipped in 2 receptions, 44 yards, so another 4-yard reception other than his 40-yard touchdown. So touchdown of the day. What is that all-purpose? 126 yards all-purpose, 15 touches. So pretty good afternoon for Matthew Clark. Unfortunately, his team wasn't able to get a victory. The Bisons were able to capitalize on a block punt late, get another touchdown, and I think they scored 14 points in the fourth quarter to get the victory. and come away undefeated after week number 4. So that will kind of conclude our recap of last week's action, that being week number 4. And let's get into week number 5 quickly so we can get out of here because it is getting late. I'm getting tired, and I unfortunately got to go to work tomorrow, as I'm sure most of you are hopefully maybe listening at work or maybe listening after your Friday. Let's get into it. I'm going to change things up with, this week we went basically with all the same picks. Week number 4, other than Connor, we all picked the same. Me, Gord, Matt Young, all picked Alberta, UBC, Manitoba. Connor was the only one to pick Alberta, Saskatchewan, Manitoba. This week, we're all going with the same picks once again: Alberta over Saskatchewan, UBC over Calgary, and Regina over Manitoba. So the first matchup is Alberta and at Saskatchewan on Friday night. Alberta 2-2, Saskatchewan 1-3. I'm gonna, we're all picking Alberta, so I'm maybe gonna argue how Saskatchewan can get a victory quickly as possible, and I will do that for the rest of the teams as well. So UBC, we've all picked them to win. Maybe I'll argue why Calgary can win, and same with Manitoba. We all picked them to win. I'll argue why Regina can win. So let's get into it. Sask, first and foremost, I think they're going to need to hope that Matthew Peterson isn't, available for the Golden Bears. And then number 2, I think, is most important probably for them because no program, no person hopes for injury, of course, but Riker Frank, arguably one of the better players in the Canada West, in my opinion. If he can get going, I think he is truly the engine that makes that offense go, makes that team go, as well as the straw that stirs the drink. He's everything for that team. If he can get going, I think he makes Amadroud a little bit more comfortable, not having to force Amadroud's a gunslinger, and I think he loves to pass as any quarterback does. But when he's opened up and freed up a little bit more in terms of second and manageable, knowing that he has a productive back that can get him in manageable situations, and he can lean on from time to time. He doesn't have to pass the ball 30, 40 attempts per game. I think that's Saskatchewan's recipe to win first and foremost. Don't think I like their chances personally. That's no personal shot at them. I think I'm just much higher on the Alberta Golden Bears at 2-2. I'd argue they should be 3-1 if Matthew Peterson was healthy for that game against the Calgary Dinos. I think even with the whatever it was, 5 interceptions, 3 pick sixes, they find a way to win that ball game. And that's just the Canada West this year and what makes it so fun to watch. So personally, I got Alberta, but that's why they play the games, folks. That's why they play the games, and you never know on any given Friday night, I guess, is what we'll see. So excited to watch this one. Alberta at Saskatchewan Friday night on Canada West TV. UBC at Calgary is next on Saturday afternoon. And like I mentioned, we all have UBC at 2-2. Why Calgary at 1-3? Why Calgary? Well, first and foremost, if you haven't watched any Calgary Dinos football this year, their defense is phenomenal, led by a numerous amount of guys. Daniel Flanagan, Nate Boschman in that secondary, some other guys in that secondary, Steen Rasmussen, BC boy, Vancouver Island product. Shout out to Steen. I know he's doing well. On the field, getting a little bit more playing time, starting for the first time, getting some interceptions. So happy for you, buddy. Happy for that team. Happy for that defense. And their offense is a little bit slow, but Matthew Clark and Don Britton are starting to round into form, and I think that is where they can get a victory on over the UBC Thunderbirds. Is that defense is going to do enough? We saw it last week, Boris, the Manitoba Bisons. They held most of those guys in check. Even Braden Stubbs, 16 carries, 84 yards. Jackson Chudzinski, 9 for 20, 132 yards, as I mentioned earlier. Like they really, total offense, 200 yards, maybe 250-ish for maybe probably 300 total yards for the Manitoba Bisons versus that defense. I wouldn't be surprised if this is a low-scoring one. Calgary's able to keep it close, but I just don't know if I can trust them. Where I would say their their path to victory would be is if they can get a performance from Matthew Clark that they did last week, and then Don Britton can be somewhat of what Don Britton's been in the last 2 weeks of being a productive quarterback. Would like to see him cut down the interceptions and start to sling the ball around, get some touchdowns through the air. even through the ground, whatever it may be, just find the end zone because I think you're doing a disservice to that defense because that's arguably I think one of the better defenses, arguably one of the best, arguably the best defense, excuse me, in the Canada West, and just a great unit. And hopefully that doesn't go to waste with an offense that's not able to keep up. I think is maybe for lack of a better term right now. So I got UBC along with the other guys, but if I was to argue for Calgary, I think same as what I said, I guess, for Seattle. Starts with the run game, starts and then next with the quarterback. So Regina and Manitoba. This is going to be a tall task for Regina at 2-2 and Manitoba at 4-0. Why Regina, folks? I think if Regina was to get this win, it would be, Regina's a good team, as I mentioned, and I think they match up with Manitoba well. I'm trying to think of how I should word this correctly of their recipe to win because I don't think it's necessarily Noah Pelche needs to play better or Noah Pelche needs to have a better game, excuse me, or Garwood needs to rush for this amount of yards and Mims needs to do this. I think it's just play your game because you're a good team. Last week's game is last week's game. You're gonna have those throughout the season. Hopefully, it's not too many. And this is a good ball club. Play your game. Manitoba has, found ways to win, which is a credit to them. But they have also played in tight games, given their opponents opportunities to win. And to Manitoba's credit, when it's time to nut up, they make the plays. And I think Regina's going to need to do that this week. Is not let Manitoba make those big time plays, not let Manitoba control the fate of the game in their hands. You take it into your hands and make sure that you guys win the game. So not too really sure how to kind of word that into a recipe or a path to victory for Regina. I think they're a good ball club. I think they could easily win this game and make it 3-2, make the Manitoba Bisons drop to 4-1 and their first loss of the Brian Dobie farewell tour. What a momentum boost that would be for Regina going down the stretch. That being said, I have to go with Manitoba once again. They are 4-0 for a reason. They have proven that they are the best team in the league. As I was, to basically piggyback off what I was just kind of trying to counter against them, they found ways to win at every turn now this season. They are playing with a lot of confidence. That snowball has gotten bigger. It is rolling down the hill. It is starting to become, a dangerous force moving forward. And I think they are going to be a tough out. But Regina can get a victory, and I think they can prove that they are, one of the four best teams in Canada West. And this year I think it is, getting that top four, and anything can happen in this year's playoffs because all six teams, if we're being honest, can beat all six teams at any given time. I think this is a great season to cover Canada West football for the first time for myself and get into it. So I really would encourage anybody that's tuning in that is maybe a casual CFL fan, friend of mine, friend of the show, whatever it may be, that isn't tuning into U Sports or Canada West action on a weekly basis to do so. Canada West TV is where you can catch all of that game by game basis. I think you can do it like $8 or $9, $10 or something like that. You might as well just do the season's pass for 40, folks. It's way cheaper. You get access to all three games every week, as well as watching them on demand afterwards. So recommend that. I think that is going to do it for a Canada West football show this week. 35 minutes is great for me, to be honest. 10 o'clock here. Going to go enjoy a little prison break with Carly before bed. So it's been a long week. Excited to enjoy the long weekend. One more day of work Friday, tomorrow, or today, I guess, by the time you're watching this. And then come home. Canada West is on. BC Lions are on. Canada West Saturday. Enjoy my Saturday afternoon and then NFL Sunday. And I get a fabulous day off on Monday to relax. Hopefully, put out some content for you guys. Get prepared for next Wednesday. So that will do it for the show here tonight. As mentioned, go check out our Canada West content over on the Instagram, over on Twitter, our Canada West weekly picks at Canadian Football Fanatics on Instagram, at _CF Fanatics on Twitter. We made our picks this week. Me, Connor O'Neill, Gord Randall, Matt Young. We all took the same, which is kind of a little bit weird. I wonder what's going to happen this week. Hopefully, nothing bad. We all took Alberta over Saskatchewan. We all took UBC over Calgary, and we all took Manitoba over Regina. I remind people I am 5-7 on the year. Connor O'Neill is 5-7. Gord Randall is 4-8. and Matt Young in first place at 6-6. So tune in to all Canada West action this week, folks. It should be another great week in the Canada West football scene. Thank you guys for tuning in here tonight. Like, comment, subscribe. Please, most importantly, subscribe to the channel. We are at 256, I believe. When you guys subscribe, press the notification bell. You guys get notified every time we upload a video like this or go live in any sort of capacity. It has been awesome talking Canada West football with you guys on a weekly basis. And Matt Young missed him here tonight, but he will be back next week. And that's when we'll see you guys next.